Wonderful. Bro, you are coming through. You are coming
Sweet.
through. Praise the Most High. All right. So, well, let's dive in. And hopefully along the way, so there are some other people saying that they wanted to chime in as well, but I'm guessing they're still sleeping. So I'll see. As we go along, hopefully they'll message me and be like, all right, cool, bring me in. So we'll just go along, all right? Someone says rubs hands intently. They're ready for the show. All right, bro, are you ready for this? Are you geared up? Are you ready? Are you ready?
I don't think anybody ready for this.
Do you know what?
Think we're ready.
I'll be honest, before we get into it, I didn't realize how, I knew it was a deep, obviously, topic, because I'm asking, why do men cheat? Or rather, why do men tend to look elsewhere? But I didn't realize just how much feedback I would have got from it from last week. It's crazy. So, well, boy, praise the Most High. This is them kind of pastor topics, isn't it?
I did warn you when you mentioned it. I'm like, yo, that's complex.
You did. To be fair, you did. And at that time, I don't think I realized how deep. I didn't realize how deep. Oh, perfect. Thanks, sis. I didn't realize how deep it was. But yes. All right. No problem. Let's dive into this, right? So, why do men tend to look elsewhere? AKA, why do men cheat? I need to read out this comment, right, that came through this morning. I found it really funny. So basically, I said, obviously, there's a number of reasons why men cheat, right? But one that stood out for me is they say some women tend to let themselves go. They forget that they need to keep up with their hygiene on a level. I'm like, rah, that is deep. You know, I didn't think that, not to say that I didn't think that men didn't look at things like that, of course, because appearance is everything. Obviously, hygiene is everything. But you'd more think that a woman would be on top of that, just being that we're women and we should be on top of it. But I didn't think that was something that men really would cleave to. Like, nah, like, why are you not smelling nice? Why are you not smelling sweet? Well, like, what's going on here? But what's your thoughts on that, bro? Just in regards to like this women appearance, the hygiene, that kind of cleanliness is probably
that's 100. That's 100. Because yo, if the man has any pride in himself, at the end of the day, there's gonna be skin to skin contact. You'll be sleeping in the same bed and all these type of things.
Yeah.
Men are very much stimulated by the physical and the visual. So the senses.
Yes. Yeah. That makes sense.
So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, that does make sense. Okay. So let me get through to some of the other comments. There were so many that came through last week. And like I said, I was not able. So it's a cheesy toes. Gosh. Yes. Yeah. No, cheesy feet is not the one. It is really not the one. All right. So, let me see. I'm trying to remember the ones that I actually read. I'm sure I read this one, Conquer in Spirit. Yeah, I did. Man want to conquer, conquer everything. Yep, I definitely did read that one. Yep, I definitely read that one. Right, I need to get your opinion on this one. This one struck me, right? And guys, keep in mind, when I sent out this message to brothers, this is brothers in and out of the truth. Okay, because I needed to get a wider, I guess, aspect on this. So this comment, let me know what your thoughts on this, bro, right? So someone says a few points to note here. Historical African men, and I'm going to be speaking from an African perspective, would have multiple partners in the same household who all got along just fine. Children would be born and all raised as a one big family. This went on for generations. The Europeans then came along and literally beat their ideas of Christianity into Africans and enslaved the one that didn't accept the new false way of life. With this onset of Christianity, words like married, monogamy, and bigamy got entered into our vocabulary to denigrate, I think that's how you say it, our way of as it stood from when we created the first civilization. As a result, anyone who doesn't conform to this new normal Christian model is then labeled in a derogatory term, cheat, adulterer, what have you. Then there is the slavery and post-slavery phenomenon. Bigger, stronger slaves were encouraged to spread their seed as much as possible to breed bigger and stronger slaves. This went on for over 400 years. At the end of slavery as we know it, it was then expected that a mindset indoctrinated over generations would simply change in less time than it took to establish. Now, that's very packed.
It is packed.
It is very packed.
It is packed. I kind of know where they're coming from too. There are facts in it, but also a lot of like conjecture. Partially, because I understand that there were plenty of tribes, especially if you're talking about from an African perspective, that did deal in polygamous relationships. People were living in the house. Whether or not the women were actually happy in the house, as I said, that was conjecture because they don't know that for a fact. They just know that man lived with plenty of women in the house. They're in seed and whatnot. They also haven't identified how it became, because it wasn't necessarily any old Tom, Dick or Harry that could just end up having multiple wives in that scenario anyway. It had a lot to it had a lot to do with tribal wars, and then the amount of women being way above the number of men, which thereby the most suited men who are capable of taking care of these women would graft them in, and continue the village and such forth. Then obviously with the slavery part, that's also a fact. So there's a lot of things ingrained in us that promotes that type of thing. So there's some truth, and there's also a lot of conjecture.
No, absolutely. I definitely hear that. Sorry, I'm having to multitask here. All right, so the next comment that came through says, men cheat because their partner gets stuck in the same routine. So someone who will give excitement is more appealing. Some want to get away from consistent nagging, looking for attention. Some men don't want to commit, so they play the field. What's your... that was kind of coming through a lot last week.
I suppose it's the most... common conception, I suppose. I can't say any of those statements are incorrect. It's easy for us, however, to oversimplify things, and in oversimplifying things, sometimes it feeds our ignorance. As things go deeper than the surface in many occasions. But I would agree with that.
I'm gonna bring in the next caller. They're up now. So bear with me. But do you think there's something that was said last week with one of the callers who was reluctant at first to come in, but then finally came in? So he mentioned that there's this stigma, obviously, around men. I think there's men as a whole, whatever nation you're from, that obviously men have this stance. Have this stance of being macho man or whatever, and because of that, they wouldn't go to their wife, the woman, and say, "Oh, babe, I feel like you're not being affectionate enough or giving me enough love," or whatever the case may be. Do you think because of that, that's what then drives a man to just say, let me just go out and find a next woman?
I did send you a breakdown of how I categorize like 7. I kind of tried to conceptualize it in 7 different stages, and I think a bit of everything that everyone says fall into one of those categories. This what you're talking about is literally about poor communication, which I would have put under the emotional immaturity aspect. When you're unable to properly communicate, and this is just one aspect of the emotional immaturity. When you're unable to properly communicate, that sometimes causes weakness in willpower, and it heightens the lack of self-control. So then you act out in a way that's not even beneficial, when it could have just been said to the person. Instead, you just thought, I'll take this in my own hand, and I'm gonna just go road. So rather than communicating verbally to your partner, you just
go out and just do your own thing.
You just act. Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because the next comment, what I'll do, give me a second. Let me just bring in the next caller real quick. I'd line you two up together. 1 moment, guys. Bear with me. I'll just bring in the next caller now. But yeah, now it's interesting that bro said that. It's the next comment actually that kind of, I guess, lines up with what he just said. Hello. 1 second. All right, you can both hear me, yeah?
Yep.
Hello, Nbiyah.
Oh my Lord. All right, so the next comment, because as you just said, right, just in terms of communication and stuff like that. So this next comment says, firstly, some men can't help themselves. If the opportunity arises, a lot of guys will take advantage without thinking about the consequences. So that kind of lines up with what you said. You know, taking the matter into your own hands, but you're not thinking about the domino effect of.
But a man like that, what's just been described, he wouldn't. I mean, the emotional immaturity part, it's somewhat on the line to some degree to all of the other 6 areas that I tend to identify. And for the listeners, I basically put 7 categories: emotional immaturity, lust of the flesh, escapism, mental illness or substance abuse, seeking validation and connection, unfulfillment, and social norms. Now, that person that you're talking about there, I'd say it's more on a social norm which can be influenced by culture or personal behavior, and it doesn't have to be one thing. If you have all 7, then obviously a relationship in problem, because now you literally have no reason to settle. That's that type of person there. So that person could be influenced by all 7 of these aspects.
Wow.
You got the opportunity, you just take it. At least be picky, bro.
Yeah. That's the thing, that's the next thing I was going to say to you, is like, for some men, they don't business. It's just a pulse with, with the bits that they need to do their thing. But they don't look like, it's like almost, I don't even know the word to use. It's like they just don't care. Like, it's just, it's like someone said last week in the last week comment and said, boy, sometimes it's a thing of you just want a quick thing. You're not checking on what they look like, what they're about, with their hygiene on point. None of that.
But then wouldn't that also be social norm influences as well? When you think about the modern style of dating, you got your Tinders, you got your all sorts of apps, which is literally just encouraging not long-term relationships per se. Everybody on there knows that, well, actually, especially for the men, sex is at the forefront.
Yeah.
So even if she wants to be wined and dined first, we still know what the end result is aiming to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so there are things like that, cultural norms and so forth. The same thing we mentioned, the person mentioned when they're talking about from the history of Africa to into slavery. Again, that's a social norm within certain cultures. So the polygamous nature of men, you know. So I mean, most people are right. It's a lot more complex than people think, and it's based on individual relationship or experiences to really identify which one out of the 7 you really fit in.
It's a comment that came through, and they said that women have to be more understanding that a man is very, very sexual, more so than obviously than what we are, as when women can withstand for a long time than what a man can. So do you think because we always have this the whole debate of, oh, well, but if I'm tired or if I'm not feeling well or whatever the case may be, or you just piss me off that particular day, I'm not on it. But I know with men, if they need it, they need that release. They just need it.
Yeah.
So,
And
go on.
that's funny because I know both organs are muscles, but it is funny when, to me anyway, maybe females can enlighten me on this, but I find it funny because the guy is incapable of having it as many times or as long or as frequent as the woman. So how come it always seems like he wants it more? He's the one with the organ that literally, fluctuates in itself. Yeah. So like, I'm like, really? And then you say you go to work and that you got guys doing some heavy construction and all sorts and still come home and be like, yo.
Yeah.
So for me, that argument is a bit, I don't know. It needs a bit more depth.
Sis, what do you think about that? Just in terms of obviously men being more sexual beings than us. Like, is it the fact that women need to just be like, okay, I understand, he needs to release? Because that was a comment that came, a few actually, in fact, that came through, that women have to just be more understanding that when the man needs to release, he just needs to release and just don't argue. What's your view on that, sis?
No, I'm trying to hear that one still. If you need to release, fine, I understand. But like, compromise with your woman, and then times when you're feeling like you need to release and she's not on it, then you need to go and take up some kind of hobby to take your mind off it. Go to the gym, go do something. Because what woman out there is going to accept that as a reason? Oh, just because you're a man and you need to release, you can just go and do what you want. Okay, babe, go and do what you want, and then check me back when you're ready. Like, nobody's gonna accept that as a woman, like to be the norm. So I think
no way, not under the context of having to go out and play the field. No way.
So that's just an excuse that men use to justify them wanting to go out there and do what they want. So in that case, I would just say, go and be single and live your life, and then when you're ready to settle down one-on-one, then go find you a woman to properly settle down with. Don't put her in a situation where you are forcing her to accept that. So yeah, I'm not trying to hear that argument at all.
What's your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, no, she's right. That's not that wouldn't be a good reason for. There is no good reason really, but that wouldn't be a reason for someone to then go out and play the field. In terms of, oh, she's not on it today, or so yeah, I need to go find another woman that's on it. I mean, that promotes a lot of the multiple women thing, which is, Can
I ask both your thoughts then, even with that? I don't want to touch on it too much because I'm not trying to promote polygamy. But if the man presents that idea to his wife and she agrees, and then now, okay, I guess, what do they call it? Sister wife or whatever they call it. What's your thoughts on that on the woman's front? Do you think she's just trying to please her man, or do you think that she's just generally okay with the idea of having a next woman being brought in?
Well, to be honest, I would have to be asking you that question. I know why he's asking for two wives. I know why he's asking for two wives. For the woman to be totally accepting of that, she might have her own agendas that benefits her. Whatever that is, whether it be physical or financial. Whatever the reason is, she would have something. I should hope that she has something substantial to gain from it, because to me, it's not normal. And the people that I have spoken to that have been in such a marriage, ain't none of them ever been happy. Not one. I've spoken to about 4. Sure, you could go wider with it, but I think 4 out of 4 is a pretty damning kind of thing.
Definitely. Sis, what's your thoughts on that? The woman agreeing?
I think that, like, putting myself in that position, I think that the only reason I would agree to that is if maybe I'm struggling and I want help, or I want to ease my own load. Like, okay, you can do this, washing the house, but this, that, and other, like to ease the load. Or if you're you couldn't bear children and you're that selfless that you're like, okay, husband, I want you to be able to raise children, your own seed. Then you can go and, get another second one so that she can raise up seed to you. But I don't think it would be like a willy-nilly, yes, like, I'm happy with that. You can go and find the next woman. I don't think any woman in their right mind would be perfectly happy to allow that to happen.
Do you know what I'm going to do? Give me a second. Let me just bring in my next caller as well. Let me just line her up because I want to get her opinion. She did say something to me beforehand. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. I think that's going to be another forever topic where some people are going to agree, others aren't going to agree. Can you push? But okay, let me get my sister in now. Hopefully she answers. Oh yes, I got you. Sis, can you hear me good?
Shalom.
All right, give me a second. Let me just merge you in. And you can hear us, sis? You're good?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to pose to you, sis. Got Xanta's MP on the line also. I want to pose to you the same question as well. And that being, what's your thoughts on a woman agreeing to their husband saying to them, well, look, I want to, add another wife into the mix of this. So obviously in turn means that she will now have a sister wife. What's your opinion with that? What's your thoughts on that?
Straight off the top, to be honest, I believe if he's even asking that question, we would have definitely have a solid relationship.
Okay.
For him to even pose the question in the first place. And in regards to a solid relationship, I'm speaking of where we have dealt with our differences, we have dealt with any contempt, we have dealt with any violence and any neglect. But the fact that we have dealt with those, so we are living in a relationship very conscious and aware. And saying that, and for him to pose that question or make that suggestion, I would agree.
Okay, so for you, it means that you two have that kind of solid relationship and understanding already, that for him to pose that kind of question means that you're already kind of there. Like you understand his whole being, his whole thought process, why he's coming to you to say it. Okay, because, I get what you mean.
Because why I'm saying this is, in with every relationship, there are gonna be different dynamics. And where growth is substantial and established, it might not be for every person.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah.
Because maybe their development process or stage is different than my own, for example. Yeah. So some people or some couples will not be able to deal with something like this outright agreeing.
Yeah.
Maybe they can deal with it if it's a sneaky situation, but they can't deal with it outright. Now, on the other hand of that answer, the reason why I would agree is because in truth, the depths of it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the other party. And one thing I understand in relationship, and I'm saying relationship because sometimes it might not be the same for everyone. So relationship, it can come at a short-term, a long-term relationship, because nobody knows what tomorrow is. But if it's a long-term secure relationship, it means that you've developed an understanding with each other, where you know where each other is at every given moment. So where communication is concerned, you are on point. So there is no hidden agenda in your relationship structure. You always talk. So even if it's the least thing, you have a conversation about it.
No,
Once you've got that, if you've got that established, you will understand that even in a full-time, settled down, long-term relationship, marriage, you still have an individual who would like to live their life. Now, I'm not saying this because of any inadequacy in myself, but I'm saying it because you have to understand that we don't control no one. And as a woman to a man, if the man would like that, that is part of what he wants. It's not about me. And when you come to a place of being able to love in that way, I can tell you can conquer anything, because in truth, you are given what you call freedom. And freedom, you don't control freedom.
So, sis, would you say it's the same setting or scenario for what they would call open relationships?
I was just about to say that.
Now, I think it depends, because when you say open relationship, a lot of people interpret it as just go and have anybody you want and do as you please. Some people interpret it as that because they do not understand the dynamics of who is in the relationship who make that suggestion. Still, because people can have open relationship and it probably does not entail intimacy. So a lot of ways when people make the statements, they don't understand it, why they would disagree. So it's not always relationship outside of marriage or long-term relationship is not always of an intimate nature. A lot of people are so shallow with their processing of thinking that they think everything, because if I say no to that, but yet still my partner would have somebody outside, but it's purely a open relationship where they're probably just good to play tennis together, where I'm not really a tennis lover and I'm not interested, rather than causing him to become oppressed or depressed or feeling.
So you're saying not necessarily of a sexual nature, but
it might not be. It might not be, but because we are human, and the majority of us are so unconscious with our process of thinking, we think that everything is to be with somebody, laying down with somebody.
What what do you lot think about that then as well? Because this is saying that not necessarily on a sexual nature, it could just be that.
That's I do agree with that, but to some degree, because men are built different from women, and yes, everybody have their individual understanding of what certain things mean. In terms of, would I like my partner to create an emotional relationship with another person, or so they haven't laid, or spend a certain quality of time with them because they like, let's say, playing tennis, for example, right? For most men, that would be a no-go. That would be a level of uncomfortability, right? Because when I put looking for validation or connection, right? So that's non-physical reason, right? Where it could be the entertaining of conversations, people that you see at work too frequently, people you study with, regular social contacts. But these are all areas that lead to temptation. We cannot deny that fact.
Brilliant. I'm glad you used that word. Thank you for saying that, because I'm gonna touch something right there.
Mm.
You see a lot of issues with say men and women who get themselves in a certain place is because of they confuse knowing about themselves with knowing themselves. There is a difference. It's not the same. And some people know about themselves, but they don't know who they are. And that is where the problem lies. In the whole, from last week to this week, that is where the depths of the problem really lies. Because if you know yourself and you have to be in a situation or be around, or the circumstances have to change, or the dynamics have to have added aspects to it, it doesn't change what you have. Because, as I said, in reality, and I'm saying it straight with no apologies, we don't own no one. We don't own anyone. So whatever somebody wants to think, you might not agree, but they still have the opportunity to do what they want. You can't stop them from doing it. So all I'm saying is, if people understand who they are, that is the best part of any relationship. And I can tell you this straight up. A lot of us don't have a clue who we are.
I was about to say, Sissy, it might be a good solution, but the majority of people don't know who they are.
Sorry, can I just chime in there?
Yeah.
Like, I think that with regard to that, we go into the marriage on the premise that, we're going to become one mind.
Exclusive.
Yeah.
So, that exclusivity. And I don't think that, for me to think like, okay, fine, I can't control you, you're free to do what you want. I don't know that I would have held that oneness in high esteem, maybe I held part of myself back to then think, okay, I can let you go at any point because you're free to do what you want. Do you know what I mean? Maybe that doesn't exist. And maybe someone, I don't know if someone, you see how we say, okay, we don't know ourselves. Can someone really that deep think of them that deeply, or go to the depths of their character to say, okay, I want another wife because maybe I just want, an emotional connection with someone, or we share the same interests. I don't know if men would think or know themselves on that level to make
enough for just that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I get what, and I'm not disputing anything you're saying, and also be aware that nothing that I don't disagree. I absolutely don't, because what you're saying is correct. However, from a different perspective, and maybe your experiences are way different than my own experience. That is why I have this kind of opinion, because if you haven't been through it or experienced it, it might not be something that you can do. And maybe on the grounds of how you've experienced it, it has caused more harm than good. But what I know is everything is a test, and it's also those tests for developing oneself. So you, as I say, if you go in a marriage wanting this person to be completely yours and yours alone, in reality, it doesn't exist. You alone don't share that person, even though they're not cheating in anywhere. You alone don't share that person. It doesn't happen. If that's the case, then you should tie the person on you and then not to move to anywhere else. Check it out.
Yeah, we get it from that aspect. Everybody is their own individual.
That's it.
But and I get what you're saying. You're right about that. But the premise of cheating denotes that you're doing something you should not be doing.
I agree with you. And this is why I said I'm not going against anything you're saying, I completely understand the whole process and everything that you're saying. But I'm also saying there is a place where one becomes so aware and so enlightened that these things happen, what do you do? Divorce? What did you do? Pack and walk away? What do you cuss, or you're this, you're that? What do you do? In that place, the thing to do is to remain yourself, be at peace, be calm.
Yeah, I fully get
So
that. I get that.
So that is the place where I am speaking from. Because as I mentioned, you might have not experienced this whole experience, but maybe I have experienced it. And so because I've experienced it, I understand how to go about dealing with it rather than become defensive, wanting to create something that is not needed to create. So I'm not disagreeing at all, because on the other side of life, nobody wants to deal with that. Nobody. But in truth, it is happening. And what do? Put yourself in a state of shock, in a state of war, worry, depression, anxiety, frustration, when all you have to do is just be still.
So essentially, you're coming from a resolution to conflict scenario.
Because, all right, what are you gonna do? Because if this person wants to do that, I don't care how much marriage certificate you sign, they're gonna do it. And all right, let me just be completely honest with you. I've experienced and been around multiple people over my growing years, and I observed this. Most of my friends or acquaintances has oftentimes been male figures. And when we have the discussion, and the stories I know, those men are secure in their marriage. Those men have properties, have things together where they've invested together. So it's not like they just want to make a mess of their life. It's not the case. So these men were pastors, bishops. These men were nurses, doctors, you name it. They were never people who was some little man from the corner. Never the case. It was always people who are up, who are experienced, like who've got things, who's got finance, who are investors, who are bankers, people who are in position, prime ministers, members of parliaments. All of them you can put on the table, and I'm using those just to clarify what I'm saying.
Sis, do you think then?
Sorry.
Do you think then there's some men who? Because I hear what you're saying. Obviously, there's people like who you've mentioned, people who are upscale, right? They've got their things together, household, what have you, maybe certain investments with their wives and whatever. But obviously, because there's a comment that came through that said, second wife's not right. Why would you agree? If you become one flesh, then how can that work? Even the Most High is against it. So obviously there's some people that will always be against the whole polygamy thought. But
the comment is right for the comments.
But do you think though that some men who can't commit, like if they know, because obviously like there's a very key comment that you said, you have to know yourself, right? So you have to know yourself. So like, especially for men, women, they say tend to grow up a bit faster than men do. We mature a bit faster, right?
Because they haven't got a choice.
Because we haven't got a choice. And obviously because they put a clock on us, it's like, okay, well, we got to move a bit faster. So for men who get to say a certain age or stage in their life, usually late 20s, early 30s, where they're like, okay, you know, I've done my thing, blah, blah, blah. I think I'm ready to settle down. Do you think for men who don't get to that stage mentally to say, do you know what, I am ready, do you think that those are the men that should not be in any committed relationship? That they say, you know what, let me just do my thing and...
Let me go back to, there is one session you did time ago when we spoke about ego. Now, I'm going to tell you this. A lot of people, great or small, ego is what controls them. And ego controls even the woman who will flare up with that same statement. That's ego itself. So how do you manage these things? You have to sit still because you don't have that control. You intrude. So listen, it's really hard to make this to say this because not many people is matured enough and conscious enough to understand this kind of conversation. But the reality is that it does happen and it will continue to happen. It's been happening from before I was in existence, and it's happening still today. Sometimes what other people, what women, sometimes as women need to understand, sometimes a man might make a decision not because he planned to, but sometimes he's been infiltrated. He probably on a job and there is a trap that's set up for him, he didn't even notice. You understand? So, and the trap set up and he hasn't got a choice because sometimes it's not about him, he's probably protecting his family or his wife. So without jumping the guns, sometimes you have to really be careful and understand the dynamics of what's really happening before you quickly respond. And I believe a lot of times that is what caused the severity of the problem rather than understanding what's really happening.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying yes because the Most High says no. And I'm not saying yes because I want to offend anyone. I'm saying yes because in truth, it is what it is and it happens. It really does happen.
Yeah, it's more taking a step back and having a look at the bigger picture, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's how you deal.
Yeah,
look,
that's what I was thinking
let me tell you one of the greatest things and one of the hardest things to do is to forgive. And that is where all the power lies in everything. I remember I met one of my neighbors about 5 months ago walking in the park. She said, oh, she just celebrated her 60th. So I questioned her. I said to her, what's the secret in maintaining a solid relationship, marriage? You know what the lady said to me? Forgive everything. Don't hold nothing, because in truth, we come in this world with nothing. And we're going to leave with nothing. No matter what you accumulate, a husband, a car, a job, a career, listen, you still are going to go without them. So
that's like that mindset of our grandparents' generation, isn't it? That's
yeah. 100.
Live without attaching yourself to anything or anyone, because in truth, we only need the Most High. When we get to that place, that's when we have true freedom.
And peace.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not going against anything the scripture says because I agree with the Bible. I know if man kill woman because woman go out, woman kill man because they go out, the house mash up, everything wreck. I was secure, solid for 14 good years. And what messed things up? Somebody decided to go road without addressing the other person. So obviously that's gonna cause problem.
Yeah. And I get what you're saying as well. You can't just throw away your marriage. Just
but
like
because of that, that's why I threw it away. Because I didn't understand. I wasn't awake and conscious enough. But I can't get them years back. I have to start over new. So that's why I'm saying, rather than jumping the guns, just be still. The same way if your car broke down or you get a scratch, go and repair it. How you do that? By your knees and the word of God. Nothing else. The same thing you used to cook, clean, wash, do it. When he come for his time, give him yourself. It has what he's doing. Listen, if a woman can do that, I tell you, that's where you carry power in your hands.
I hear what sis is saying, and I get it.
Because
but
that
man, one second, sis. Go on, Sure.
Where women will struggle is that women. I don't know that women this day and age know how to handle or deal with those feelings of betrayal, the jealousy, the anger. It's all of those things that will probably hold a woman back from having that mindset.
Sister, I'm now cut you in your speech, please. what the Bible say about jealousy, what it say about anger. So if you go back to the scripture, you will not need to deal with that, because all of it is not of the Most High. So can you see how when you leave from one part, you are getting yourself in a wrong place anyway? So all you have to do is do the duties. Keep your duties active. You don't get involved unless you are required to do so, because you think it's about you. It ain't all about you. I'm sorry. It's not. It's really not. And the quicker a lot of us get these things in our head, I'm telling you, that's where you stand firm. That's where you talk. When you talk about who the Son set free is free indeed, that's freedom.
Yeah. You must understand, so the sister come from a resolution standpoint.
Yeah.
It's straight. This is straight resolution, as opposed to the reasons why we may think that men cheat or look the other way. She's going straight to the resolution.
Look, in my,
and it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Sorry, brother. Sorry to cut you in a speech. In my line of work, my job is to help those who's going through mental health recovery. Listen, recovery. So they've gone through the crisis. So they've gone through from having the breakdown, go through the hospital, the GP, whatever, go to end up through psychiatric, psychological, whatever evaluation, whatever CBT, CBD, whatever they've gone through, talking therapy, anything that they want to put there. I'm the one who then help them to integrate back into life, get themselves out of them house, get themselves communicating, maybe making a phone call to a friend they never called for 20 years, maybe go and change a closet because they wear the one jacket for 50 years. That's where I come in. Now, let me tell you something about that. As much as my duty is to get that person out of them house, guess what happens? I can't force them. And I cannot go and physically hold their hand and walk them through that door. No. All I have to do is encourage them and tell them of the reasons and the benefits of leaving their house. And it's up to them to make the decision. What I'm trying to say is that rather than going against and putting up arms and battling and fighting, let me explain this to you guys.
Wait, sis, hold your thought, because it's going to go into the ad break here. So hold your thought until we come back. Guys, that's all locked in. Bless you. Give us a second. It's going to go to the ad break, and then straight after the ad break, we'll be back. Okay, so just bear with us, and we'll definitely be back after this ad break. All right. Wonderful. All right, we're good to go now. Zion, you was I had to cut you obviously because of ad break, so I didn't want to obviously stop in your tracks. But yes, continue with your point.
All right, I'm just gonna share a little bit of background. Now, some years ago, because initially when I met my children's father, we make a decision that we're gonna settle down. I was 19, and so when it comes down to a long-term settle down marriage, that was my first. And so the thing about it wasn't the best developing, because I think we both never knew what it was to come into that. So we had to learn as we went along. But cut the story short, with no dishonoring him, because I respect him sincerely. He's my brother. Yeah. He's the father of my children. But there is one thing that happened. When one stepped out, I remember myself specifically crying uncontrollable for weeks. I couldn't stop crying. Then that would classify as a heartbreak. Now, let me explain this. There was another person involved, but I gave up without having any understanding of anything, I just say, you know what, I can't deal with this.
And this is exactly what you're trying to
yes,
let
that's
the people
what I'm
know.
trying to say.
Yeah,
Please,
yeah.
just hear me
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
because rather than getting all upset and angry at your husband, I'm begging you, please, just wait to stop. That man, I remember, I never had any intention to leave that man. I never had, because background wise, there was only a few people in my family who was married. So I decided I'm gonna break that paradox. I'm not gonna live like that my life. So that was already structured mindset. See? So when I had to make that decision, I made it out of what? Anger. The Bible says you don't have to make no decision in that kind of state. But I made that decision, and most people who experience the partner going out, either male or female, but you're specifically on the male, they quickly want to divorce the man because the man mess up.
Without
That's
kind of
the
looking at
worst
the bigger
thing to
picture.
do, because
Yeah.
how much of us make mistake and then go, Father, please forgive me. If you help me, I'm not gonna do it again. Hypocrites. Hypocrites. No, I'm saying. So I walked out. I said, I'm done. I'm giving you this time to leave the yard. Listen, the brothers came. And knelt down before me and begged me, please, do not do this. And I said, no, I have to do this. Me don't want it. Me done. Let me tell you this. I lived to stand in my house and call that man on the phone and beg him to come home. The man told me he was married already.
Wow.
So I'm saying to any sister who is listening, you see that happening, you suspect it, yeah? Just lay low. Just lay low and humble yourself. Because the other person may not be a need to be with them. It might be a situation we don't have. Actually, they've got an octopus. I don't remember what they call it, but my sons used to tell me it have about 26 eyes or something like that, right around the whole body or the head. We ain't got that. We can't be in 2-3 places at the same time. So if it's happening or if it has happened, forgive. I'm begging you, please. Don't bother try to justify anything, because it's not about you. It's not your fault always. No. On the other hand, sometimes it's because of the lack of communication. That is one of the big, let me tell you, woman.
That is a big one.
I've learned and heard these statements many times from women. You're not to tell your husband everything about you. You're not to tell your husband your life. No, I can tell you that. That is one of the most detrimental things you can have in your life. Because if you are not transparent, guess what happened? You definitely have an agenda.
Yeah, I hear that.
You have to be genuine with your husband. Tell him even the things where maybe you don't tell him straight away, but eventually lead. If you're in 2, 3 years, 6 years, 7 years, and your husband never knows that somebody molests you, then what's the point?
Right.
Better you pack and leave.
Yeah.
That's when you need to go.
That's true. It's true. Yeah, I hear you.
Because somebody raped them and they're afraid to tell their husband they've been raped. Just be honest with your husband. These are the things where women need to understand. That's what keeps restriction, keeps the man looking somewhere, because him knows that you're not real. He knows you ain't 100% with him. You can't fool people. You can fool yourself, but not people. Because each of us, and when you look and understand, most men cheat mainly because they have a damaged nervous system. Now, why am I saying damaged nervous system? Because most of them, they've experienced early sexualization of themselves way before their maturity.
Yeah.
And that caused disruption to their system.
Mm.
You know,
But
That's a good point.
but again, this is what I'm saying. So it seems as if everything will fall under one of those 7 points because again, that can be a societal norm. There's some places where they expose the young man them to certain behavior as the normal.
Yeah.
And this year for doing my youth. And my youth want to talk to the girl and even deeper than those levels. You know, at such a young age, them exposed to certain sexualized imagery, programming, behaviors. Even them themselves being, you know,
So
as
it
you said,
becomes
molested.
innate, and it becomes innate in them. Yeah.
So so it now becomes the norm.
Yes. So
Absolutely.
that could be part of it. A next part of it could be that they have been told, they have been given an identity that is not their true identity.
Right.
You understand? You're a man, you know, just like you say. Or for example, they will go through their household. They have 10 sisters, and every move they make them say, this a hang out, that a hang out, batty rider, and they become sexualized, not realizing that needs to be kept away from them because they haven't reached maturity. You understand? So all of that is a part of it. And sometimes men think they're going out and they're hiding, but in truth, if a woman is very conscious, a man can't hide nothing from her. Just the same, if the man is conscious, the woman can't hide nothing from him.
CIA.
You see what I mean? It will be transparent, unfortunately. See? So and also sometimes some men go out because them don't understand the value of the woman they've got.
All right.
Because if they did, they would have asked questions rather than make movements. You see what I mean? So it is a sticky place to be in should somebody fall in it, because initially you feel like your breath is gonna be taken away, but in truth, your breath is there. You are a being all on your own. Because of the structure of life, we becomes, what you call it, we becomes in relationship with other human beings. But in truth, we don't have that control of ourselves. And when we understand that, we don't even control the other person. And I'm not speaking of not controlling for them to do what they want. That's not the perspective. Is to know that, okay, if I'm cooking fish and the person wants veg, you have to understand that too, you know, and not try to give them fish when they want veg, you know.
Yeah. So it's not taking away the responsibility of the individual, because you have some men that are literally narcissists. It's just about the lust of the flesh. But again, also the women them need to realize that if they're after a certain caliber or type of men, say they have a type, they want alpha male, the odds are this man is going to have plenty of options, and sometime that man will exploit those options.
Definitely.
Look, as I said, the biggest thing a woman can do in this is to be still, and maintain her grounds, meaning continue and never try to shadow his movements. Because if he's messed up, you need to be clean. So when he's able or need a helping hand to come out of that hole, you are present. You are able, you are conscious enough to say, no, baby, come on, let me wash you. Let me help you. Rather than, oh, look for you cheat, me I go tell the whole family, me I go let you. And then guess what happened? Esau is just waiting to take the money. Waiting to clean your bank accounts out. Because
added to the statistics.
So be conscious, be aware that we're gonna fall. The scripture say righteous. It never say a man, you know, it say a righteous man. A righteous. And I'm not, please, I am not endorsing that kind of lifestyle. So please do not quote me wrong with my statements. I'm just purely talking about from experience and observations over the years. I said I live to call and beg and say, please come back, even if you live in a one room and me living at the next, even that. And that was
what do you lot think of this comment that came through? So they said, obviously it's the question that I posed to all my brothers, right, in my phone book. So someone came back and said, I would say immaturity, boredom, opportunity. Most time it has nothing to do with the woman. And another comment says low self-worth and think you'll find value more elsewhere. So
yes, that comes under the validation aspect. Because remember, you know, if he's seeking a woman outside, oftentimes the women outside are putting on, they're using a section of their being as a personality ethic. So they're putting on the best show, which validates that man's worth, him being. So yes, self-esteem or low self-worth. That is definitely one of the many things.
I mean, they said that they went on to say that men who value themselves don't cheat.
That's probably very incorrect, because again, men will seize opportunity. Men are far more
hunters.
Hello? You say hunters?
Men are hunters.
Hunters, yes, we are predators, and we are more efficient in doing certain behaviors. For example, if you'll have more women try to commit suicide, but more men successful in committing suicide. If a man does work or live a lifestyle that he could die tomorrow, he's more prone to risk his sexual behaviors. So even if a man has certain status, then he has opportunity, which means he's going to want to flex that ego.
Right.
So it's got nothing to do with his self-worth. As far as he's concerned, it's because of his self-worth why he's doing it.
Wow.
And also, one key aspect that most people don't understand is this. A lot of us, and I'm saying a lot of us men, so a lot of our brothers are traumatized and be a man, tough it out. So they never get help. They never seek help.
Never.
So all of them trauma, or what you call density of pain in them, they carry it and don't even know. So a lot of time men will go out, listen carefully, ignorantly, not even realize that there's a scale over their eyes. Because, and this is why you can't jump to conclusion and you can't judge nobody. And if you think you are perfect yet, no, I'm not saying you can't be, because the scripture say you can. The scripture said, be ye perfect like your Father in heaven is. So there is a possibility. But if you don't get there yet, make sure so you be available to help somebody to get there, because you can't do it alone.
And that fall under the mental aspect, the not being aware that we're suffering certain mental issues.
Yes. And then deal with it. Give room to help somebody get well. So if you find the light, don't just keep it for yourself. Share it with somebody else, so they too can come out of what they're into. Because none of us cannot stand anywhere and tell me you have no issue, no trauma, nothing that is stuffed in you, no emotional trap, nothing. If you do that now, the scripture will tell you that you are a liar and the truth is not in you.
For real, boy.
Right up. So before we come to any conclusion of anything, we need to remember that part. And remember, the righteous man falls 7 times. And also, you have to forgive your brother how much time? 70 times 7. Before you see your husband, he's your brother. So look at him from that place. You know what? That's my brother. You know what? He's messed up.
That's the closest neighbor. Love thy neighbor.
Lord.
Who are your closest neighbor than the person that I sleep next to you?
Yo, it's deep. That's very
That's
deep what you
it.
just said, because like you said, obviously you've come on here straight with a solution. Boom. Do you understand? And the what you said is gonna put some people gonna have their backs up, but it is what it is.
Sister, let me tell you this.
It is
I
what it
know
is.
sisters. I'm not calling anyone name, so just know this. I know sisters who have never told me what they've been through, but I know what they've been through. And I know a lot of sisters left their husbands because of this very same thing. And right now, if you ask them the question, they will say they wish they never did.
Yeah.
They wish they never did, because you go and find James, John, Tom, 10 years, 20 years later, and you might find that the lesson that you should have learned with Steve, you miss it. And then you have to 20. You marry James. James do the same thing. And what you gonna do? Walk away? Because as you said, there's a clock on you. What are you gonna do? Walk away and be yourself. The lesson, you never pass the test. That's why I come back again. So just know that every single thing we go through with our husbands or wives, it's all tests and lessons, messages for us to live and be free. When we get these things, that's when we are free. Some people misinterpret successful marriages because of 25 years, 60 years, 70 years. It's not always in the years. It's about with your actions, your responses, how you function. You understand? And not merely just functioning, because all of the
in a non-toxic way.
Yes, all of the things that we say a man cause a man to do, who cause a woman to do, all of them is present. We can't change it just like that. It will take time, because we've been so infiltrated on so much level. Listen, if my brother make a mistake, you know what? I'm sorry, brother. As long as you ain't giving up, that's the key thing. Don't give up on your brother if you mess up. You understand? Seek help. If you have to talk to one person to say, you know what, to help keep your mind focused, you know. I remember a sister was not in the body, called me, oh, you know, my husband this, my husband that. You know, I said, make sure every evening you're cooking food, left it. I said, make sure every evening you cook that moon food. No matter where I come from, if you see lipstick on him clothes, if you see what on him clothes, go and take it and wash it. And go and humble yourself. You don't need to fight for anything. Because when at the end of the day, that man will look at you completely different and say, you know, you are an honorable woman. Yeah.
And to be honest, the most, if it might come from a perspective of the most, let him be the judge, because he will remove that man out of your life if it's that traumatizing to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not
if it mean head roll and them thing, that he'll do it.
But look at it now. Even in that case, because the scripture talks about affliction, it might not be a thing where him ever take with nobody from you. Because
no, of course not.
It's not even for him. The lesson might just be for you as a woman. It might not have nothing to do with the man. So we need to, when we're looking, we need to look from everything from ourselves. Because listen to this, and I'm not going to go into no scripture, but I'm just referring to one. It said in Isaiah 48:10, it said, behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. So sometimes we need to understand that the afflictions that we're getting from our husband, our children, or whatever, is not all about them. It's about the Most High dealing with you to purify you, to make you shine bright as the stars. That's the key thing. When we begin to understand these little things, we will know, oh, my husband gone out the road. Me not agree, you know. But you know what happened? Me are washing clothes before him come home. Chip, 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 chip. You know.
Yo, them not gonna like that answer.
They're not gonna
Not gonna like that one. Yeah.
When you begin to see it this way, it do not come as
it's because
as
we're
a
so
friend.
far from our great grandparents, I'd say, at this point, that lived that kind of life where if the woman knew her husband stepped out, they were still staying in that marriage. And that is a hard pill to swallow in this now generation.
Sorry, I'm just quickly saying, women this day and age don't have that kind of humility.
Yeah.
That's
No.
to be
It's
learned.
there, you know.
Yeah.
No.
It's there, you know, but
relearn it.
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah.
But what it is, look, let me tell you this. Humility don't come just like that. Humility
practice
come
behavior.
when you go through affliction till you have to just stand up still and just say, Lord, what if you do? Lord, only you alone know what if you do. Me no know what if you do no more. That's when humility start functioning, you know. Humility don't just appear. All right, we sit there, the gift of the fruits of the spirit, meekness, kindness, gentleness, long suffering. We sit there every single time talk about the fruits of the spirit, and we don't even have a clue how they come.
How to receive them.
How they come by.
Boy.
So rather than sit there and I'm trying to cuss our brother because he mess up, or we cuss our sister because he mess up, look at yourself. There is a big old plank in your eyes.
A plank.
And you're trying to pick out the beam out somebody else. Look at it from that place there. And we can see how we need to deal with each other, because none of us ain't completely there yet. We are journeying, but we ain't there yet. So we have to learn these little things. And I'm not apologizing for what I'm saying. I'm just telling you the truth, because I wish somebody had told me that years ago. Yo,
the man them listening, like, I know it's probably music to your ears, but it's not a free pass. You get me?
No,
it's not a free pass. I have to take everything in its correct context.
Yes, exactly. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
It's context.
Please.
It is context, brother.
Yeah.
This ain't giving no one no opportunity to go and make a mockery of the whole thing. That's not what I'm talking. I'm saying if, because the scripture says fall. If the righteous man fall, you never see the old day drop in there.
Yeah, you never said the sinner fall.
You know what this is saying? Like, all this is saying, like, I'm taking it in, and it's just making me think, like, in even, you know, in the truth, do us women still have like an entitled mindset? Are we still like on a high horse?
Of course.
In a sense,
of course. I never have to each for answer that. We're not for each for answer that, sis.
There's one scripture.
Do you know what? Sorry, before you go there, someone was agreeing and said that I have been that person my sister is talking about. I've known it and I've owned it for multiple reasons. So it is down to the mindset of, there's some, like you said, there's some women who will throw away the marriage just like that without, I guess, analysing the why. Yeah. Not analysing the why. Yeah.
I did. I really did. And I remember standing. You know, when I did that, sis, there was I think it was arrangement to go away before your wedding. And I remember I didn't have no one to watch the kids, and I called and I say I needed to watch the children for a couple of days for me. He said you have to work. And that was when I had the breakdown. That very day I called. I said, listen, I'm begging you, please, to come back.
Wow.
I don't care if we have to live in separate rooms. We work on ourselves, but you better come back. You have to come. Listen, my words are, you have to come back.
I have to come back.
So look, a lot of us, when we begin to understand, when the scripture say you must obey your husband in all things, it's not all things for him's sake, you know.
Yeah.
It's for the Most High sake.
Yeah.
When you realize that all things is for the Most High sake, because if you look at it from a different perspective, who are even us? or even us. So we have to get to that place where we're forgiving our brothers, being kind to them. Because let me tell you something, the Edom wife them, ladies them can't wait to take our brothers.
You want to make them know.
They can't wait. They're out there with their tongue longing down. You ever see when dog thirsty? That's how their tongue longing. Because right now, and if you notice with them, anytime them get our brothers, they marry up straight. Them not hesitate. They marry up straight, so you ain't getting them back. So we need to understand these things and just hold tight.
Bro, you had the breakdown that you wanted. You had 7 points that you wanted to break down, and I really want you to go through them.
Oh, right. 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we every time something is said, it seems to actually fit into the 7 points, really.
Yeah.
When time we talk about the emotional immaturity, which is the poor ability to express feelings, can promote bad judgment, weakness in willpower, heighten the lack of self-control. Usually with something like that, even the problem in the relationship had already gone way too far before the act of infidelity. Yeah?
Right.
Lust of the flesh, that usually come, you know what that is, some sociopathic behavior, a bit narcissistic, right? Lacking empathy or emotional intelligence sometimes when it comes to other people's feelings. So it's all about me. Yeah, they want what they want, and it's as simple as that. Escapism. Again, poor communication involved because it's the wanting out of a relationship, but the inability to face the unpleasantries that comes with that. Yeah, seeking distraction, entertainment, fantasy, which cause promiscuous behavior when them go out there. Because what the girl up on the side, she do all of the dress up, you know what I mean, all of that so-called fun stuff. Then there is mental illness and substance abuse, also another contributing factor. The traumas that we suffer that we have not fully identified. Our behavior is being dictated by things such as alcohol. Yeah, we could go through anxiety, depression, all these type of things, which can be soothed when temporarily soothed when the man steps out because he feels he gets that relief. So when time we talk about things like nagging wife and them type of things there, it's not good for man, the mental health. We ain't that strong. So you'll seek an outlet. Looking for validation, or connection, which is non-physical. As the sister was saying, people could have a friend, and technically it's a relationship, but not in the way that we would normally understand, right? So that's seeking validation. So that's non-physical reason, but it can increase sexual desire, right? These are the type of things that can develop when you entertain long conversations with individuals. You might work in the same environment, study in the same environment, socially gather together on a frequent basis. Then unfulfillment, that's standard. Not being pleased sexually, or unevenly yoked on a sexual, when it comes to them sexual appetite, you know, dramatic changes in one's physical appearance, because we know that guys are visual creatures. We use the senses a lot. So things on that nature, a man could go through an existential crisis, right? Unfulfillment in his own life expectations, because ain't nothing like women and money to the common man. Obviously, we know, so we have to put the Most High first. All other things will be given if we see the kingdom, right? So we understand that, but on a basic level, that's what it's about for men. They make money, forget women or the baddest women they want, or the women. You understand? Social norms, again, we said that again, when time is a younger youth, it's usually a badge of honor. How many women can you conquer? How international a lover can you be? Type of behavior. The sexual programmings that subliminally goes into the mind, you might just see as a sexy poster. A man, they might just see as a Nicki Minaj video, not realizing how it's affecting the subconscious and your sexual desire and promiscuity to other females. Then there's the notion of polygamy as well, obviously.
Yeah.
And then we spoke about the caliber of males that women want. If the caliber of male that you want is so exclusive, then don't think you're the only person that's going to want that male.
Yeah.
And they're likely to exploit their options. So, but everything we talk about tends to fall into one of those categories.
Yeah. No,
and that's what I identified.
Yeah, no, that's deep. So I'm calling the doctor. This is real. No, it's real. That was a absolutely, boy. I said it to you when you sent it to me. I said, listen, this needs to be an article in the Daily Mail or something, because that breakdown right there, I said, yo, that's next level. I wanted to read this comment out, right? Someone said, for me, I've cheated once, which was in response to my girl cheating on me with my friend. So I cheated on her with her friend. For me, men like to freshen things up. We like something new. It's not that we don't want what we have, but want to be able to come back to it. Sorry, it's not right, but it's just the way it is. Anyone you cheat with is never or means more than the woman you're with, because in the act after, you feel like crap, basically, is what they were saying. So obviously you do your thing, you release, and then after that you're like, oh man, why did I do this?
that statement is deep, because
we've got to be candy cane, Shanae.
Sometimes it's a trap, Sometimes the trap is set and they don't realize that there's a trap set. Because you have some woman will set up man, and women's been doing it for time. Look at when what's her name, Tamar did it to Judah. It can happen to men till today. It happens. A man don't know say a trap set for him and him just walk right in it. So sometimes we need to be aware and know that sometimes it's outright not even a desire them did have to go nowhere, but somebody set up a trap and them get catch. So I mean, and sometimes them even lie and say, oh, if you not do it, me I go tell your wife, or me know she work, or all some kind of stuff, blackmail and all that.
So keep it continuous.
Do you know what? Funnily enough, you say that, because someone said, I believe last week, I don't know if I read it out or not, but they gave an example that there's some women who they find it a challenge, right? They find it a challenge to take married men. Yes. So they will persist. Now, the man in the beginning could be like, nah, I'm a married man. Nope, I'm happy. I got my wife, I got my children. Everything is good. But what that does in turn for that woman who's trying to chase him, it makes them it spurs them on even more. It's like now they're even more determined to make him step out of that marriage.
There's a reason behind it as well. As I know, back in the days, those are the men who spend the biggest money, because they want to keep things quiet. So they tend to spend, and they tend to be more the ones who rent the nicest hotels, the nicest dinners.
Financially high value men.
Yes, because they don't want you to let their secret out as well, because if once it starts, they need to find ways to cover up.
Yep.
And it's part of the ignorance, because
end up getting extorted.
Yes, he don't realize what he's up into in the first place, and know that this woman probably have her man even, but she knows she can get the money from him. You understand? So it is a very complex situation. But as I said in first place, we just need to understand how to deal with it from a Christ perspective, where what it is, you can't change it, you accept it, you deal with it, you forgive, and keep loving each other, because love covers a multitude of sins. You understand? When we understand these things, it don't, even though I'm not saying it will never hurt, don't get me wrong, you will feel some discomfort. But once you've got somebody who you can confide in and reason with, and that person is gonna give you the right language, because if the person says, yeah man, left him out of order, that's when the problem comes even worse. But if the person is saying, no man, just take it easy, man. Is your husband, is a good man. Look at it, look at the positivity, the good perspective of the person, rather than judging one mistake that they make. You understand? Just because out of the 10 things they did right, 9 things they did right, they did one thing wrong. Still big.
And then no longer are they worth it.
That's interesting, because as you lot were
no
talking,
longer are they worth it.
Yeah, as you lot were talking, I was just reading this comment. I thought, okay, that fits literally in line with what you lot are saying. So this comment says, there is blood and there is fire also. The short answer, because they want to take advantage of the situation presented. A lot of the time, emotions aren't even attached to the act. In my experience, that's what it was anyway. Now, some people may see that as a lack of control or whatever, but it is what it is. If you want to expand the conversation, you can look into this generation lack of trying to communicate, understand or explain, and we have a generation who do not understand what unconditional love is. Plus the fact that we live in a throwaway society, so one mistake ends a good relationship.
That's where, and that is where even right now I'm having the conversation with my oldest, and I'm saying, look, no matter what you see, life is not always what it seems. So be mindful, be conscious of things, because you might say, oh, the man there is because the man they not good enough, or the man they not know the Bible enough, or the man they, you're so wrong. You can't, none of us don't know who know what more, who know what when. None of us. We only have to go based on what they present to us. And they can't just present one aspect that to you think it's all aspect.
Yeah, one aspect.
But a person is like a 360 degree. You have to be there in the now and that present moment to understand and identify who that person is and deal with them as such.
Yeah,
someone like some women will have a husband who is probably not bringing enough, and they will cuss him. You only give me £50 a month. What I can do, you know one good man. Yeah, no, but in truth, that's what you can afford. So be grateful for that and say, my darling, thank you for this.
Yeah, sorry to cut you, sis.
Appreciate it, baby.
Let me just read this comment out as well. So someone says, I agree. You have to just trust in the Most High that He will fix you and not even a relationship. You have to get to a place that you just let go of all the hurt and be at peace, not let go of the marriage, which is very true. But someone else has commented and said, what about a serial cheater?
There is probably a issue. There is definitely an underlying issue that needs to resolve.
And also, Shah, chime in. Someone's asking for you. Someone just said, "Where's my little sister and friend?"
But you know what? As well, sometimes a lot of us as women, we are not trustworthy enough for our partners, our husbands, to come and open up to us. Because they probably some women are so judgmental. Maybe they're not judgmental directly to the husband, but maybe there might be a sister who, sister there, every time she come to church, she wear that shoes there. Me not like her, she look. Why she have to do that scarf there? Why she have to walk that way there? Why her lips so shiny? And that will make that husband know that he can't you. So yes, it happen. It will never come and open up. So rather than open up and say, babe, you know what happened? Man feel like there's a problem, something wrong with me. I don't feel good in myself because certain thoughts when I have.
He might even act out, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Because he can't trust to come to you and say, you know what, babe, me need you to pray for me. Me need you to fast for me. Let's go on a research. I think we can get some help somewhere. They will never come. So rather than come, they just keep being in that sick state. So
usually with the serial the one them cereal, are multiple things going on. If we're gonna use them 7 lists, you're gonna have at least 3 or 4 of them active at one time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Physiology, psychology, personality disorder. It might have so much complexity to that person.
And then how does a man communicate that?
Exactly. But men can communicate that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just who is going to communicate it to.
Right.
That is where the depths
the
of
problem.
the resolution will come. If he's not able to communicate that to that woman who is with, then unfortunately he will stuck in that place.
Yeah.
He will be.
Yeah. Oh, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, I thought the phone went dead for a second there. Okay, I was just reading through some of the other comments. Someone said that they don't personally cheat, but I feel men cheat to get a new sense of attention, maybe to feel worth, maybe it's looking for a way out of routine to bring something new to life. Maybe the adrenaline of doing something wrong is exciting, like a parachute jump. Scary as hell and could end your world, but the excitement, adrenaline takes over. So do you think that some people are like adrenaline junkies? Why they do it?
Yeah, but again, that's a go fall almost under the narcissistic behavior because it's about self and pleasing self, and then that then make them a bit of a nihilist. So it's already gone bad. Like, let's go deep, and they do get a rush from that type of behavior. Irrespective of the results. So that's a part of it.
And saying that, and that is why as a sister to another sister, as women, we can't just be have a one mindset. So for example, you go to church, you wear this long old dress at church, and at home you wear the long old dress at home. You need to be able to be variety. So sometimes you need to, one shorts. It might not be all the time because you probably have young children, especially boys around. But even in the comfort of your room, you can probably, before shower time, you probably put on a nice little body ride, and you probably just, do a little twerking. And, I mean, unfortunately, those things are not instilled or because we believe that we are women of God and we're holy.
The bedroom is undefiled. Like that's the part where you get to do your workout. Are you that? Nobody can judge you for that.
That's it. So if you wanna listen, I believe every single sister needs to have a colossal amount of lingerie and panties and all that. I believe you should, if you need to get the whip, all of that, you need to get them out. No, because in truth,
sister, them listen.
Yes,
the people out there.
I'm listening.
Yeah, you need to go and get the feathers. You need to get all of the stuff, the line, because if you don't, and I'm not saying it's about you, but it's also mean if you're a woman who the scripture talks about the virtuous woman, these are things that she would have done and would have had in her possession. You understand? She would have the different oils to make herself smell good. Sometimes going through purification, detoxing yourself,
Someone's laughing at you, bro, saying for the sisters to take note.
Certain things, pampering yourself. There are certain things that you need to still maintain. It's not just being a married woman, it's being a wife. Understand that there's a difference.
Yes. Yeah.
You understand?
Someone also just messaged and said, yes, in the bedroom, you got to keep the fire burning. That's why the children must be in bed by a certain time. And for sure, lingerie is a must. So it says Nbiyah, take heed.
Yes, you need to. Answer tell them. When Answer delivers, they delivers in a brown box, so nobody knows what's in it. So order them. even your husband, the husbands can sometimes order them online and deliver them at home. So when she opened the box with her name on it, she's gonna be shocked, she's gonna be surprised, she's gonna be overwhelmed, and just, you know, try, because some people are so structured in the old mama and papa way, a big old granny 90, they don't have no vibes. You know, they don't try. Sometimes you have to take off the headscarf and let out your hair.
Yeah.
You know, some little things. Sometimes you probably have to have a beat. It might not have a tune or somebody singing, but maybe you need some kind of upbeat sometimes and probably bounce around and, you know, you move yourself a bit rather than the same old, because in truth, we don't always want to be in that position, just locked in a cage.
Yeah,
so
I definitely hear that, boy.
Yeah, if you want to maintain your marriage or your relationship, you need to consider. So even if Master go on a road, you know you have to come back home.
Someone say broke out weekend.
You see what I mean? Because once you know if food cooking and everything Chris and curry. You understand?
Yeah.
It's what it is.
Yeah. Someone says hope the sisters are taking notes.
Yeah, I notice I only came from a psychological and whatever perspective, so it's not a male perspective.
No.
So I can't say that.
Yeah.
Yes, what I've mentioned is incorporated. All of that's incorporated in it.
Yes.
But I articulated the sister telling her,
Yeah.
son, it's not just a male opinion.
Someone messaging and said, I'd like to hear from brothers who haven't cheated about why they don't cheat. Do you know what? There was a couple, in fact, there was maybe 3 comments that I had in regards to brothers who haven't cheated. And let me see if I can find it, because there's one brother that said he's been married about 17 years. Yeah, here we go. He said, I've been married for 17, nearly 18 years so far. By the grace of the Almighty, I am blessed and feel really happy at home. But I think mainly could be the lack of peace and appreciation at home. It could be the lack of applications. He says, again, lack of peace at home. But some people, they're just bad by nature. Doesn't matter how good their partners are, they will always do something wrong. The main thing is how strong your belief is. If you're a real believer, with the help of the Almighty, you won't cheat. It's both sides. I believe that we should show more appreciation, love, respect, and security to one another. Yeah, of course, there's points that he said, but again, even as you lot said, even a righteous man falls. So it does all work hand in hand. The woman has to step up. The man obviously has to do what he needs to do. But I think really in hindsight, I don't know.
Can I just ask, you know, when we read through the scripture with Tamar and Judah, wasn't Judah going somewhere?
Yep.
He didn't, I'm sure he never go with the intention to go and do that.
No, they just coming from some sheep shearing festival and in a merry mood, and you know, on his way home.
No, sorry, can I just read this comment? Sorry, a single sister says, can't wait to brook out too. We need to help her find a sister or husband. Don't let me bust up, please.
You know what? One thing,
mate.
You said something about appreciation. One thing I know with men is this. If without that appreciation, it can really break things down, because that's part of their egoistic setup, where they need that validation. So even when, for example, you probably sit with your husband and maybe you're flicking through something and you see somebody looking a certain way in terms of body size or muscular, and you probably say, wow, you know, make sure you say the same thing to your husband. Because if you don't, you can be creating some kind of problems.
Yes, it's
You see what I mean? So your
yeah.
husband should be not an idol,
Yeah.
but you should acknowledge him. Yo,
Yeah, no, definitely.
listen,
Because it's an ego thing as well, isn't it?
guy.
It helps to boost that ego as well. We have to remember
Yeah.
that.
And
Yep,
and
and
that
then
is
the
on
beer
a
belly.
positive note.
Even with the bare belly. It's true. Rub the bare belly. Rub it, guys. Rub
Exactly. If the head bar, rub it too.
Rub it.
If the locks there, put your hands in it.
Someone said, as petrol's going up, sisters, better listen hard because man can't afford to go nowhere. Oh man.
When we begin to accept our brothers for who they are and their struggles, their difficulties, their scars that they carry, when we accept them for who they are, you will find the world a much better place to live.
Yeah. Careful. Next comment says, sisters, I'm a big man now, but ever since I was a young man, I've never cheated. Ever since I've been young, I've had something buried in me that I've always been loyal to the partner who I was with. I guess some people are like that. They just don't have it in them to do that, even if they're unhappy.
Contrary to popular belief, it isn't all men that cheat.
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
No.
Exactly. And it isn't. Absolutely not. It definitely isn't.
I know men who have majority of their friends are females, but they don't cheat either.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have some, and their relation is purely innocent. Their relationship, that man who's got all them female friends might be the one who's guiding them on a different note, not laying with them. Yeah, because majority of our sisters didn't grow up with fathers.
Yeah.
And not everybody is under somebody or some kind of governance.
Yeah.
You know?
Boy, you lot, we're literally down to the last minute right now. So obviously you have to wrap it up. But boy, this has been fire. This has been fire. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for chiming in this morning and giving your points. You lot gave some serious points. And